Hey Cougs, my name's Alexis McLean and welcome to Pathway to Coug Day 2. So I'm so excited to have you here. So we did our first training, which was the basic understanding, lots of slides, lots of vocabulary. Now you are here, advocacy and actions. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now just remember, trainings 1 and 6 are mandatory, and then you get to pick to come to either 2, 3, 4, or 5. You're welcome to come to all 6 trainings, but you're only required to come to 3 to come to Coug Day and also get your badge through Involve for your LinkedIn. Again, how I designed the training series is each training is meant to kind of build on top of each other. I'm a visual person, so I like to think of the Pathway to Coug Day as the yellow brick road to Olympia, and what can we do to prepare ourselves? What tools do we need in our toolbox to make sure that we have everything that we need come time? So I'm super excited to get started. The deadline to complete all the trainings, January 5th, because we do have to get head counts and all that going. And then that being said, if you haven't done so already, please, please, please make sure you scan this QR code and register to be a part of Coug Day. This is our interest form, but it also helps us keep track of like which campuses have the biggest head counts. But I would also require this for everyone. If you want to come, you have to fill out this registration form. So it's called an interest form, but it's January 25th and 26th. We hold it up in Olympia, Washington's. If you have more questions just about details, you can always message me on Teams or you can email me. But you do have to register to be able to come to Coug Day. And you can do this anytime during the training, but obviously the sooner I know, the better I am to be able to prepare. I have everything for you. All right, so before we get started, we're going to do an acknowledgement of America's First Peoples. Washington State University locations statewide are on the homelands of Native peoples who have lived in this region from time immemorial. The university expresses its deepest respect for and gratitude towards the original and current caretakers of the region. WC Pullman is on the homelands of the Nez Perce tribe and the Palouse people, and remains steadfast in its support of the tribal sovereignty and the inclusion of Native voices in teaching, research, and programming. So we are ASWSUG, or ASWSU Global. I am your Director of Legislative Affairs, Alexis McLean. You can call me Lexi. And then again, it's called DOLA for short. It kind of sounds hip and cool. But as we move on, I wanted to get you involved with just who our executive board is, so you know faces, because we might be lucky enough to have a few ASWG members show up and attend, like Adela. She is going to be coming to Coug Day. She will not be lobbying, but she will be there as a support player. So she will be there to watch bags. She will be there to hold down the tables, because we actually have to sit down in like the deli area of Olympia, because there's not like rooms that you can rent or go and sit at. So we kind of have to like grab tables. So Adele's going to be one of our table coordinators, and then she'll be able to watch bags for us. That way you're not like stressing about, oh my gosh, I have this big heavy coat, I don't want to carry it in with senators. We will have people there to make sure that you feel supported, your stuff feels protected, and then she'll also help us with making sure we have lunches and things. So we might have a couple members who will be coming, but Adela's for sure has registered, and she let me know, so we're excited. But I wanted to get you to know her. You know, as virtual students, sometimes it's hard for us to feel connected, but we're students and we all want to be connected. And I want you to, know her face, be able to go say hi to her if you're in the lobby and you don't know who to talk to. Her major is accounting. If your major is accounting, maybe you guys already have a common interest. Some of her favorite things are her favorite soup right now is kanpun. She likes to collect stickers, pens, and press coins, and her favorite color is purple. Favorite quote, this is something I like to ask. I think this is important. It lets us know a little bit about everyone's character. But she said, her quote is, "I saw a star slide down the sky, blinding the north as it went by, too burning and too quick to hold, too lovely to be bought or sold. Good only to make wishes on, and then forever will be gone." I think this is a beautiful quote, and if you really kind of just look at her quote to what Coug Day is, it's kind of like it's going to come and it's going to go, but you kind of have to hold on to that really beautiful experience. So I just thought it was really lovely. It was great to share. And again, if you see Adela in a meeting or if you see her at Coug Day, say hi. She's definitely want to be here to support you and just to be another student with you. So now that we're jumping in, let's talk about the structure, crafting your advocacy story. Again, advocacy in action. What is that? Why is it important? So I don't know if you remember from the first section, but we talked about lobbying being an action. You're doing something, you're lobbying having impact, you're advocating for something. So when it comes to bills, a lot of times we're advocating why that's important to a student. So like for instance, the college grant, that's something that we are going to be advocating for, making sure that they don't lower the funding. Why is it important to you? I wouldn't be able to go to school without the college grant because of XYZ. And you bring that storytelling back to life. Now it's really important to understand when we're advocating and crafting our storytelling, it's factual storytelling. You're not making up a story to go with something and that you're presenting to senator or representative that's false, that this didn't happen to you. It's factual storytelling. And that's what we're going to be talking to in this section about why it's what we're doing. What's that advocacy in action? Like, what does it look like when we're doing that? So why is storytelling important? Why does storytelling matter? Storytelling connects people to causes. Personal narratives humanize policy issues, and lawmakers will remember a story more than they might remember the number. We want to tug at the heartstrings, right? We're not always going to be able to tug with everything, but when we can, we want to make it an impact. We want to go and lobby, and we want to go and use our voice. And why is this important? Why should they care that we care? What is it doing that are affecting us? Now you have to remember, senators and representatives, their job is to listen to us. That's why our voice has power. So when we're going and using our storytelling, we're going and using that power that we have. Like, this is why you need to support this bill, is because it affects me if you don't. And what happens when it affects you? Is it rent prices? I don't know if anyone lives on the west side of the state, but it's really expensive in the greater Seattle area. Maybe it's something about controlled rent prices. That's something I want, maybe we'll be lobbying for that and saying, hey, this is really important because if I can't pay my rent, then I can't go to school. And then I lose my WSU opportunity to keep bettering my life. So again, there's ways that we're going to go and work around these. And this whole point of this section is for us to build on that storytelling and getting comfortable kind of thinking about that. A lot of times when we're going and working with different stories and powerful stories, where do you begin? What are you thinking? So the biggest thing, as I kind of said, is authenticity. It needs to be true. Speak from your own experience, your own strength. Your audience will connect with you with these like real experiences. I never thought I needed a food pantry until I had to skip meals to afford my books, or tuition or something like that. Like, those are things that are they're real, they're powerful, and it's not about, oh, poor me. It's about, hey, lawmaker, I need your help because I can't eat because I need to buy books. So what can you do to make sure that I get the funding for the college grant to support me buying my books so I can buy food? Those are the things we're advocating for. Those are the things we're going to lobby for. And again, there'll be like a collection of lists. So these are just kind of broad examples, but we want to create an emotional response. So want your stories to be able to be memorable. You want them to remember you. They want to remember their voice. Like, you know what? I want to vote for this because I want to make sure that those students eat. Don't be afraid to show your vulnerability side. Lobbying can be a little bit intimate sometimes because we are going into these really sometimes, situation because you're asking for help. So you have to be okay stepping into those shoes and letting people in. And it's okay if you're not. Don't worry. Don't think that you have to like completely wear your heart on the sleeve and different and share all your deepest, darkest secrets. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you don't need to. But you think about a story of how can you still connect and create emotional response there. Make sure the message is clear, the purpose is clear. What do you want to accomplish by the end of your elevator speech with with your representative or senator? What do you want them to remember when you leave that room? What makes a story powerful? Its relevance to the issue. Connect your story to the policy or the cause you're advocating for. Show how the issues affects real people. It's not just a theory. This is daily life. Food is daily life. Rent prices are daily life. All those things are super important. Without access to mental services, I struggled in silence. That's why I was supported with increased campus counseling funding. Like all those things are tied into everyday things that affect everyday students. And as global students, we have such a different perspective than maybe a student in Pullman. So your stories, your power is so important to bring to this audience, because again, we're going to be with every single campus. But I think global students, a lot of times we might face things that are a little bit different than some of the other campuses. And that's just because we're virtual students, right? So we're probably working. I know for me personally, I work, 40, 60-hour a week sometimes, and I'm going to school. So my storytelling or what's happened to me might be a little different from maybe a full-time student at Tri-Cities or Pullman. That's totally okay. That's the best part of WSU is that each one of us are one Coug and our voices make a difference for all Cougs. Think of the structure and flow of your story. Strong beginning, middle, end. Keep your audience engaged. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but we're going to do a 4-part framework: problem, impact, solution, call to action. So those are kind of buzzwords right now, but we're going to talk about those later. But also think about your voice and delivery. I recommend when you're kind of practicing talking, do it in front of a mirror. Get comfortable talking. Get comfortable messing up. Even when I do these presentations, sometimes it takes me a few takes, but like I do it by myself first before I have to present it to you. Speak passionate, speak with clarity. Practice makes perfect. It's one of those things you will get more confident the more you practice. And then, if you're able to, practice with, your friends, your colleagues, because using your eyes, making eye contact is just as important as making sure that your voice is clear. If you have a hard time making eye contact with some people, this is a little trick. Stare at their forehead or stare at their eyebrows. Maybe they have millennial eyebrows and they're really thin. Who knows? That's just like a little trick sometimes, because sometimes making eye contact for people can make them a little bit like it makes you uncomfortable as the speaker. So if you're one of those people that just kind of struggles making direct eye contact when someone's talking or when you're talking to someone, stare at their eyebrows. It will, I don't want you to concentrate on it, but it might help you just get comfortable to that point one day where you can look them in the eye. So that was just a trick someone had taught me in like my freshman year of college back in like 2009, and it's always been really helpful. And I've used it time and time again until the point now I'm comfortable having those conversations. Okay, so we're going to talk about the structure, the advocacy story framework, the framework that we just kind of talked about, those little buzzwords that I talked to you about. So how do we set it up? The problem, the impact, the solution, the call to action. So step 1, the problem. What are the issues that you're addressing? Why does it matter? Keep it simple. Keep it specific and relatable. For example, as a first-generation college student, I've struggled to afford textbooks every semester, blank. That's just an example. This might be something to talk about the Washington State grant funding or something like that. Whatever the House bill is, think of a story about why is that House bill, what's the problem if they don't support it. So you have to address what the problem is. And then you're going to use your storytelling to support that problem. And you're going to and again, we're going to kind of framework this process. So this is the very first step. What is the problem and why are we presenting a bill to support that problem, to fix the problem? Step 2, the impact. How has that a problem affected you or your community? WSU students, share a personal moment or a challenge. Make it real. Make that connection. If you want to pull the heartstrings, this is your time to share as much or as little as you want for your goal, right? Example, I had to choose between buying groceries or a required book for class. This is like super common that happens to students. So for instance, if House Bill XYZ cuts funding, I won't be able to buy food. So you please support it so I can buy food. I know for me personally, going back to school, that's always an investment, right? That's a huge investment to each one of us that's going to school. And it doesn't matter if you're 18 or if you're like me and you're in your 30s. So, I remember buying a textbook or seeing it on my list and looking it up, and the cost of that textbook was like, gosh, it was over $300, and I was scared. I was like, how am I going to stretch my food budget so I can make sure I buy this book? Luckily, I ended up finding the book to rent, but I know that's not always the case. And so I may come back to that problem. So how can this bill help me to avoid that situation? And so this is your step 2, the impact. What's the impact here? So step 3, the solution. What change do you want to see? Is there a policy or funding or action that would help? Expanding textbook affordability programs would ease this burden for thousands of students. And so that's why you're presenting House Bill 123. So what we're going to be doing is you have the problem, you have the impact, now you're at the solution. So you're going to be talking about why that House bill is going to be the solution to the problem to avoid the impact. And your story is going to help make that connection and make it real. Make it real to the legislators, so the senator and the representatives, making sure that they understand that this happens, that you're a real person. These things happen too. So, but you're also providing them the solution, which will lead you to step 4. Step 4, call to action. What do you want your listener to do with what you've just been talking to them about? Be clear, be direct, ask for their support. You gave them the problem. You brought your storytelling into the impact of how this affects students in the everyday life. And then you provided the solution, and that solution is supporting House Bill 1234. So close up that argument with saying, thank you for your time. Please support House Bill 1234 for this reason. For the example we kind of went through, this was about, not having to buy textbooks over groceries. So ask for their support. It kind of ties your entire process together and it makes your conclusion. Quick recap, you can finish it, and that's you using your voice. You were asking them to, you're putting them on the spot saying, hey, I need you to work for me. I need you to get this done. And it brings us back to Pathway to Coug Day 1, our very first presentation, where I had a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt. I said, okay, you convinced me. Now go out there and bring pressure to me. When you call to action, when you do this step 4, you're putting the pressure because you're saying, hey, I just talked to you about all these things, and now I'm asking you to think about this, of how can you support the student. So tips for your storytelling, keep it under 2 minutes. I think with Coug Day, we get about 3 minutes each. So again, it takes a little bit of practice how to have these quick elevator speeches. Practice out loud, be honest. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I think I've stumbled over my words a couple times in this presentation, and I press stop and re-record. It happens, we're human. But know your audience, do your homework. So the night before Coug Day, that Monday's Coug Day, Sunday we'll have a training. But I recommend everyone, when you figure out which bills you're going to be talking to, which senators, which representatives, make sure that you go and spend a little bit of time doing homework on who you're meeting. Spending, an hour or so just kind of going through. I know for me personally, I had brought my computer with me and I did a little bit of homework, but then I went and kind of studied and I wanted to know, who was I meeting? What do they support? Are they Republicans? Are they Democrats? Would I have the same message for that bill to each party? Or would I change it a little bit differently? So it's okay to practice in the mirror, ask people for help. You can ask me for help. I would be happy to run it through with you. But yeah, just remember, it's okay to not be perfect in this situation. We're students. They also understand that we're here to learn. And just by taking this step and being a part of Coug Day, I just hope you realize how much courage it takes to be able to sit in a room and tell your story and use your voice to make a difference, not only for you, but for students at Washington State University and students in Washington State in general, because again, these bills will affect all of us. So I have a breakout activity here, and obviously this is recording, so you can't do it with the group. What I recommend doing is working with someone in real life. What do you want your listener to do? For Coug Day, think about who you're speaking to. How would you lobby to make sure someone was going to support House Bill 123? So my recommendation to you is to just kind of practice making elevator pitches. Think about, that whole kind of section of formatting the structure. I think that will just be so beneficial to you when it comes to Coug Day. Being comfortable to be able to quickly put a story together and how to create that impact from going from, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then finally finishing with step 4, call to action. I am so proud of you for just being here. This is Pathway to Coug Day 2. So if you're here, I'm so proud that you're here. I'm so honored that you feel passionate to use your voice to advocate for other students. Okay, just to recap, since we can't do a recap of the breakout section, but I want you to kind of resonate with just that personal question is, how does it feel? How does advocacy and action feel to you? Using the storytelling, using maybe going a little vulnerable. Is that something you want to do, not want to do? Again, feel comfortable using whichever way you want to lobby and advocating. Do it that makes sense for you. And again, that 4-step system is just to prepare you to create like a quick little speech, because we only got about 2-3 minutes. So think about the problem. Use your storytelling about the impact. How does it affect you? What is the solution that the House bill is providing? And then call to action. Use your voice to put the pressure on the senator or the representative so they support it. This is why you need to support it, to avoid this problem, and I gave you the solution. Thank you so much for attending Pathway to Coug Day 2, Advocacy and Action. I can't wait to see you at the next one. If you haven't done so already, please scan the QR code for the Coug Day interest form. I do need you to register so that way I can figure out who's coming. And if you have questions, go ahead and email me at global.dola@wcu.edu. I'm always here for you. I can help practice with you. If you have questions, just reach out to me. Again, thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a great semester so far. See you at Pathway to Coug Day 3.